What if everything you thought you knew about the royal family is completely wrong? Because tonight, we are diving into a story that goes far deeper than headlines, rumors, or royal drama. This is about power, strategy, and survival at the highest level. A silent war is unfolding behind palace walls, and while the world watches the surface, the real moves are happening quietly. So stay with me, because what you are about to hear might completely change how you see the monarchy forever. Tonight, we investigate what many are calling the final collapse of the Sussex brand, and how Meghan is now reportedly blaming the royal family for everything that went wrong. At the same time, 2026 has become a turning point because behind the scenes, King Charles and Prince William are said to be making calculated moves to remove Prince Harry from the core structure of the monarchy. And so, this isn't just distant anymore, it is a complete separation. The British monarchy has not just been stepped back from Harry and Meghan Markle, instead, it has quietly moved forward without him. Now imagine this, it is early 2026 and King Charles is on a major diplomatic tour across the United States. The cameras are flashing, the world is watching, and the Montecito, where Prince Harry and Meghan Markle live, is just a short flight away. For months, people expected a reunion, maybe even a reconciliation between father and son. But instead, as the royal motto moved through Washington, one thing became clear. There was no meeting, no call, no attempt to reconnect, and according to higher level sources, the king didn't just miss Harry, he chose not to see him. So this wasn't about timing, it was a message, a very clear one. By staying away, King Charles showed that Harry is no longer part of the working royal system. He is now a private individual, no longer representing the crown. And while this was happening, things in California were going in a completely different direction, because reports say Meghan Markle became increasingly frustrated and she allegedly began blaming the palace for the failure of their project in America. So the big question started to rise. Why did Major Deeds disappear? Why did Hollywood suddenly lose interest? And why did their influence begin to fade? As we dig deep, we begin to see that this wasn't just a sudden collapse, it was a slow decline. By 2026, the Sussex brand didn't just weaken, it struggled to stay relevant. Projects that once looked powerfully, podcasts, documentaries, lifestyles, ventures, all began to lose attention, and at the same time, the public mood had changed. People were no longer as interested in old royal conflicts. Instead, they wanted something new, and this is where things take an even more serious turn. Because while Meghan was focusing on what went wrong, the palace had already shifted strategy. They didn't fight back, they didn't respond properly. Instead, they went silent. And that silence was powerful, because rather than attacking the Sussexes, the monarchy simply moved forward without them, and in doing so, it made them less relevant. At the same time, inside the UK, something much more strategic was happening. Behind closed doors, advisors and officials were working on what some insiders described as a system reset. And step by step, Prince Harry's official roles began to disappear. His connections to royal duties were reduced, his military patronages were reassigned, and his presence in official structures slowly faded. This one wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it was effective. And according to reports, Prince William played a key role in this direction. Unlike his father, who is often seen as more emotional, William is described as more strategic and focused on the future of the monarchy. So from this perspective, stability comes first, and anything that threatens that stability has to be removed. Now, while all of this was happening, something else was also changing. Because the monarchy wasn't just removing influence, it was replacing it. A new figure began to rise quietly, a new phase that represents duty, calmness, and stability. And as public attention shifted, people slowly began focusing on this new direction. So while Harry was trying to stay in the spotlight itself had already moved. And this created a major problem because by mid-2026, the successes were no longer leading conversations, they were reacting to them. Meanwhile, their business side also began to struggle. Majorly slowed down, new opportunities became harder to secure, and even Meghan's lifestyle brand ambition didn't land as expected. So financially, pressure started building. Their lifestyle remained expensive, but income sources were becoming less stable, and gradually the gap became visible. At the same time, public interest kept dropping. Every news story felt repetitive. Every appearance felt controlled, and slowly the audience began to turn out. And this is what made the situation critical, because once the audience loses interest, rebuilding becomes extremely difficult. Meanwhile, in the UK, discussions about titles and roles began to grow stronger. Some political voices started raising questions about whether royal titles should still apply to individuals living outside the system. And while nothing was immediate, the conversation itself showed a shift. This was no longer just about family, it was about structure, about the future of the monarchy, and about defining who represents it and who doesn't. So by late 2026, the situation had changed completely. The monarchy had stabilized its direction, Prince William was preparing for the future, and the successors were facing a reality where their influence was no longer what it was. And in the middle of all this, one truth stood out: the crown doesn't chase relevance, it creates it. And if someone steps away, the system simply moves on. So now the question is this really the full story, or is there more happening behind the scenes that we still don't know? Do you think the royal family handled this the right way, or do you think Harry and Meghan were treated unfairly? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. I really want to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update. Because in the world of the royals, the real story is never what it seems.